Left-wing America is indeed destroying itself. We're going to take a look at the latest murders that have plagued one of the most democratic cities in the nation. We're going to see how it's all part of a massive violent crime surge that's plaguing Democrat-run cities. And make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal why liberalism ultimately entails its own demise. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And gang, if you're a business owner, you've got to meet our good friend Josh Zaglowski, co-founder of ERC Specialists. He's standing up like no one else against the threat of lockdowns. You're going to absolutely love this. His business, ERC Specialists, is a specialty payroll company exclusively dedicated to understanding and maximizing what's called the CARES Act Employee Retention Credit. That's what ERC stands for, Employee Retention Credit, for small businesses affected negatively by past shutdowns. If you're a small business owner looking to get up to $26,000 per employee back from bumbling Biden, click on that link in the description below to see if you qualify today. This really is an amazing opportunity. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look, as I'm sure you all know by now, last Friday morning, 34-year-old mother and school teacher Liza Fletcher was taking one of her early morning jogs following her usual route near the University of Memphis in Tennessee, when a man identified as Cleotha Abston ran up to her, grabbed her, beat her, and threw her into his dark-colored GMC Terrain. For hours, her family waited in agony as police desperately tried to find her. Abston himself was caught, and yet he refused to tell police what he did with Liza. Unfortunately, police discovered it for themselves. They found her lifeless body dumped behind an abandoned house in Memphis. The murder is being reported as a totally random altercation. Liza was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. But sadly, such senseless murder doesn't end there. Just last night, police arrested a 19-year-old suspect named Ezekiel Kelly in connection to a massive shooting rampage across Memphis, which left 4 people dead and another 3 injured. Kelly reportedly streamed at least one of the shootings on Facebook Live. While police were trying to locate the suspect, the entire city of Memphis was shut down. Public transportation was suspended. Residents were warned to stay indoors. And, of course, the University of Memphis went into lockdown. Now, given this back-to-back news, you may have guessed that Memphis is a city that is on the brink. And you would be right. In 2021, Memphis was statistically the single most dangerous city in the entire nation, with a total of 342 murders. Tucker Carlson pointed out the other night that San Antonio, Texas, which has more than twice the population of Memphis, recorded fewer than half as many murders. So it's very clear that the city of Memphis is absolutely falling apart. It is socially degenerating at an alarming speed. But all that duly noted, I don't think anything quite prepared us for what put that social degeneration front and center for the entire nation to see this past week. The 2 back-to-back murders were so shocking, it appears that even the local media in Memphis has reached a breaking point.
And I know Memphis is tired right now. Yeah, I'm good. I'm with you all. Memphis is tired right now. The Eliza Fletcher kidnapping and abduction and murder. The other crimes we've had this year leading up to this. It's difficult right now. Bear with me. It's a very nerve-wracking night.
Now, these murders are causing many to ask, what on earth is behind the social rot? What causes led to such senseless atrocities? Well, clearly the massive spike in violent crime is inordinately responsible. After all, what we saw over the past week was an extension of the violence that's run rampant throughout the city of Memphis of late, to which then we have to ask, well, then who the heck is in charge overseeing law enforcement responsibilities in the city? Well, as the largest city in Tennessee, Memphis is governed by a mayor and a 13-member city council. Both the mayor, John Strickland, and a supermajority of the council are all Democrats. Its new district attorney is a Soros-backed radical who ran on promising to ignore the state's pro-life laws. 3/4 of Memphis make up their own congressional district that's not only represented by a Democrat, it's also considered one of the single most Democratic districts in all the South. The Cook Partisan Voting Index gives it a D plus 25. Memphis is clearly a Democrat mecca, and as such, it's been the site of some of the most radical social experiments coming from the far left. If you didn't know, since at least 2018, Democrat-run cities have been inundated by George Soros-financed district attorneys who sought to reduce incarceration across the board, crack down on supposed police misconduct, and revamp the bail system that they contend unfairly imprisons poor people before trial. As a result, more violent offenders than ever before have been allowed to run free on the streets. And that's precisely what both of these suspects have in common. According to court records, mass shooting suspect Ezekiel Kelly was previously charged for attempted murder. He received a reduced sentence by pleading guilty to an aggravated assault charge and ended up serving only 11 months of a 3-year sentence. Had he been forced to serve out his sentence, 4 people would be alive today. The same goes with Cleatha Abston, who's been in and out of prison since he was 11 years old. In the span of just 5 years, he was detained a total 16 times for charges ranging from aggravated assault to rape. And yet, he was allowed out on our streets, the same street as young mothers like Liza Fletcher. So what's happening here? Well, what's happening when all's said and done is we are seeing the decaying consequences of leftist ideology. Cultural critic Douglas Murray had a very good article of late arguing precisely that. Left-wing America is literally destroying itself, and he identifies exactly why. But as a reminder, our good friends over at Goldco are here to protect your savings in the midst of all of this economic insanity with the timeless values of gold and silver. They're patriots just like us, gang, and they're here to help you guard and save your assets. Make sure to click on that link below and see how you can get upwards of $10,000 of free silver if you open up an account with them. They're absolutely amazing. All right. As far as Murray is concerned, the left is ultimately destroying its own society as well as itself, largely because of its incessant obsession with victimology. He highlights the astonishing fall of what was once one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and that's, of course, San Francisco. My mom grew up in the Bay Area, so I spent many summers growing up in that city, and I loved it. It was a beautiful city, clean, vibrant, ornate. Today, it's a hellhole. And what happened was that national homeless populations were attracted to San Francisco because of its weather. And once they started accumulating in the city, the Democrat-dominated city council started subsidizing them and supporting them, which caused, of course, more and more and more homeless to descend upon the city, such that now San Francisco spends about 6% of its annual budget handing out cash assistance to their homeless population. 6%. But with that massive sea of homeless invading their city, that brings with, of course, all kinds of other social problems like drug abuse and sanitation issues. And to add insult to injury, because they're getting cash assistance, San Francisco taxpayers end up actually subsidizing the drug abuse. On top of that, San Francisco has had one of the most radical district attorneys in the nation. He was so bad, he actually got recalled. But as Murray points out, the problem is that they're just going to replace him with another Democrat. And we're going to be right back where we started in a matter of mere months. And so even liberals are admitting that San Francisco is a failed city, an absolute wreck. And yet, as we see, San Francisco and Memphis and Baltimore and Detroit and Chicago and Philly and New York, they're all sharing in the same degenerative fate. Left-wing policies mired in victimology end up completely removing their societies from reality. And once your society is removed from reality, you end up emancipating your society from the very foundations of sustainability. Left-wing America is rotting. And as it turns out, liberalism ultimately entails its own demise. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the uprisings sweeping the European continent as Europe indeed is beginning to fall. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on that link and I'll see you over there. God bless.